Listen to this with your kids.
Yeah, we had a listener that was a longtime listener. And at one point, he sent me an email, and he's like, you guys sure say a lot of stuff, and I had my kids in the car. Like, you're a bad parent. That's entirely on you at this point.
All right, we're live.
Okay, cool.
He still listens.
Yeah, he still listens, but he should have known better. I mean, that's
Fair.
that's what you get when you listen to this show. Okay, stream is live-ish. It's spinning a little bit. Is yours up and running, Jose?
It's live. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gone.
So it worked, surprisingly. Somehow we figured it
Yay.
out. It's surprising. Okay, yeah, that's how.
We're off to a great
Yeah.
start.
214 episodes. We're still not sure. Every week, we're still not sure how to do this.
Cody is very surprised.
Around here, we're
it,
professionals.
but we do it anyways. That's the thing. You just keep going.
That's kind of the most critical part, is just making it happen, even if you're not sure how you're doing it.
Yep,
So, yeah.
100%. Okay,
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
are you guys?
Absolutely.
You guys ready?
Yep.
Are you ready, Shannon?
Sure.
All
Let's
right.
go.
3,
Let's do it.
2, 1. Hey everybody, it is Tuesday night at 6:30 on the dot. We actually made it on time tonight, and that's surprising because I didn't know what I was doing.
How big is that dot? 6:32.
Is it 6? Okay, so it's
Is a
6.
big-
It's,
I was gonna say,
it's
my clock is
closer than we
definitely different.
usually are. It's closer than usual. Joining us tonight on the big screen in the studio is Shannon Welch. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Thanks. How are you guys?
Great. Thank you for
Good.
joining us. I feel like we have off-roading royalty in the house at this point. We're gonna
Casey?
Casey's a royal pain in the ass. We'll get into that, but I'd like to tell a
off-roads?
little bit of a backstory about how Shannon ended up in this interview this weekend. I started following Shannon after I heard her on the Talent Tank, which is a podcast, great podcast about a lot of Ultra 4 and KOH stuff. And when was that, Shannon? When did you do that episode? It's at least a year ago, right?
Probably 2019,
Yeah.
I would think. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think 2019.
So
yeah.
it was a while ago, and I started following you on social media. And this weekend, she randomly posted the grand opening of her new building called West Coast Cold Storage, and I went, "Holy shit!" I worked at that building, so at the my previous job in the organization I was in before, we did cold storage and refrigeration, and I had actually been on the site and I helped with some of the build, and I just thought it was random. And Jose, who we know works there too, just saw that today, and he went, "Hey, wait a minute, West Coast Cold Storage," and so I just reached out and I was like, "This is a very random connection," but I've been in your building, which then started, I don't know, a 2-hour on and off conversation about back and forth stuff. And then she started telling stories about her TJ and KOH and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, you need to be on the show so we can hear this story. So
Sure.
first of all, congratulations on the grand opening of your new building.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know it was a long time in the works, and there was a lot that went into it.
A lot, yes. Groundbreaking was 11 months ago, so we did it faster than most people expected. But my partner in it, honestly, how he came to me with the whole idea was he actually asked me if I want to build another race car, because he's the guy that dragged me into the Ultra 4 racing world, actually, back in the day.
So he's just continuing to make your life miserable with
Yeah, pretty
off-roading and refrigeration.
refrigeration.
Yeah.
You need to stop hanging out with that
I
person.
know.
Can I be this guy's friend, because nobody has ever asked me, "Hey, do you want to build an Ultra 4 car?"
Yeah.
Well, it was actually technically our first fight. Like, he had a TJ, I had a TJ. All of our friends, we'd wheel every weekend. We wheeled every weekend. And he, like, mine was a daily driver and his was meant to be destroyed. So usually I'd show up and I'd jump in his right seat and be like, no, mine's got to get home. So let's go do dumb things in yours all weekend. And we'd wheel with our group of friends doing that for forever. And then all of a sudden parts started showing up at his shop that didn't fit a TJ. And I was like, what's that pile over there? And he's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, you're going to go do dumb buggy stuff, aren't you? You're going to go do that dumb thing, huh? And he's like, yeah, maybe. I'm like, that's the dumbest idea ever. You're going to wreck all our fun. And he's like, I can build it if I want to. I'm like, you don't know how to build a car. You can't build a car. He's 24 years old. I'm like, you know nothing about building a car. You've tweaked on a Jeep. Good job. And so then I was actually kind of a brat. And for about 6 months, I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to go wheeling this weekend. Oh, you're going to work on that project? Yeah, you have fun with that. And so I'd show up at his shop at the end of the weekend and just, actually, he'd help me fix the things I broke over the weekend. I'd tell him all the fun I had without him. And then about June, July, I realized he might actually have a car. I was like, that might actually be something. And he said he was going to try to race this thing called Vegas to Reno, which was, all he told us was that, do you want free rooms in Vegas? And we said, sure. Who doesn't want free rooms in Vegas?
Yeah.
And we're going to go race this qualifier for King of the Hammers. But this was 2009. So the only qualifier anybody had ever heard of for King of the Hammers at that point was you go run that loop, right? Like the LCQ loop. And that's the only way you qualify in. So we're like, free rooms and he gets to go do a 2-minute loop. Sure, why not? Yeah, no. This is a 3-day 1,000-mile race. It was Vegas to Reno the long way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and none of us
and every
had ever
time I go to from Vegas to Reno, it's always the long way, but it's not intentionally.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, no.
I'm
this
trying
one
to
was
get there
1,000 miles. Yeah, 1,000 miles through the Nevada desert in August. None of our friends knew that that's what we were signing up for. I got to know Casey Folks, who was the race promoter for Best in the Desert. He's passed away now. Great man. Poor man, though. I had to call him so many times and be like, okay, so these bridge underpasses that we're going through that have like a 7-foot clearance. Yeah, we're not going to clear those. So is there some other way for us to go if we can't get? He's like, what are you bringing? What is this thing that you're bringing? So it was really the first time the word Ultra 4 had been used. And we showed up. Nobody knew who we were. Everybody laughed at us. They literally called it the big ugly thing because they didn't know what to call it. The fugly, the bugly.
Yeah, we say that, but
flat out laugh.
Everybody knows his name is Matt. I don't know why they continue to use
I was going to say, if I had a nickel for every time I've been called fugly.
Right. So, and then we won our class. So all the cool kids were there. Brad Lovell and Dave Cole and all these people that I'd never met before. And we spent 3 days just killing ourselves trying to get through this course. And we did. And we won our class. Nobody knew how to pronounce my buddy's last name. And it's the same one I'm a business partner with now. And he got big into Ultra 4 racing, won a few races. I think his best finish was actually with my fiance. I think they finished 12th at King of the Hammers one year, but he'd won what did he win? He won in Tooele, Utah. He won one year, came in second in Silver State for Ultra 4s, and did it for like 5-6 years. I managed that race team. We called it Big Ugly Racing. They were known for throwing Big Ugly. If you've ever heard of the Big Ugly parties out at King of the Hammers, that was us. You could buy a cup. We couldn't sell you alcohol, but we could sell you a cup, and then that cup magically got filled with alcohol, and it was all to save the Hammers. So
it's a $212 cup, but go ahead and drink whatever you want.
That sounds cheap.
Exactly.
What a deal.
So we were known for throwing the biggest parties out there, and about 2 years in, Dave Cole, who is the owner of King of the Hammers, we became good friends through all of this, and he's like, I'm killing it. And I'm like, no, actually, you kind of need some help. Like, if I have to go on the Pirate 4x4 and look up Jeep recovery team to figure out where my next race is at, that doesn't really work for me anymore. And he's like, well, what would that cost me? And I said, I don't know, but you better find somebody quick. And he's like, well, what about you? And I was Orange County corporate headhunter recruiter girl. This was all my playtime, my fun time. And yeah, he paid me before he paid himself. I was employee number 1 at King of the Hammers. He still had a full-time job when he hired me. And we spent 10 years growing the hell out of King of the Hammers. So,
wow. So what year did you actually start at like full-time at KOH? For
working for Dave, he called me. I was in my office in Orange County 2 weeks after King of the Hammers in 2011. And he called me, it was like 7:30. I was on the phone with Kevin, who's my business partner at West Coast Cold Storage. And I said, Dave Cole's calling me. Think I should answer? And he's like, yeah, maybe.
Dave Cole, if you want to call me, I will answer. Let me just tell you.
Don't tell him that.
I don't even care what you're calling about. Even if it's air conditioning related, I will answer the phone.
He actually randomly called me today. But anyway, so he calls and I said, yeah, what's going on? And he's like, I need your help. And I'm like, okay. He's like, he had a business partner. Name is Jeff Knoll. Actually, I'm still good friends with Jeff. Jeff worked really hard with us to save the Hammers, even after he and Dave split. But he says, I'm now the sole owner of King of the Hammers, and you're the first person to know that. And I'm like, well, that's going to be a problem. And he's like, why? I'm like, because you're the crazy one. And sorry, that's probably loud for everybody's mics. I have a loud laugh when I get
louder
going.
is better.
So he's like, oh, you know, of course he kind of, but he acknowledged it too. We both knew he was the crazy one. And he's like, I don't know how to do the social media thing. I don't know how to put this message out there and let people know it's going to be okay. And I said, all right, I can help you with that. I was making it up as I went along. But yeah, I said yes and worked for him part-time for about 4 or 5 months. Actually, I wouldn't even take a salary from him for the first couple of months. I'm like, no, I'm not sure I want to work for you. I'll help you with this, and then you can figure
and
it
then
out.
find somebody else.
Yeah, find somebody else. And then I was like, it was starting to become a problem with work that the drivers were kind of calling me all day, nonstop. And I said, hey, you got to find somebody to do this. He's like, I have, it's you. And I'm like, oh, we got some things to talk about then. But yeah, he said it. It was really funny. He said, my company I'd been with for 13 years threw me a going away party, the whole 9 yards. And he's like, should I show up? I haven't shaved. I still have cones in the back of the car. Do they know you're joining the circus? Should I show up and are they going to be concerned that you're joining the circus? I'm like, you probably shouldn't come to my Orange County corporate going away party. Probably not. It will very much concern everybody around here.
She's being kidnapped by this. Somebody called 911, put out an Amber Alert. She's so that was 2011.
2011, so there was no Everyman Challenge.
I was just gonna say, thinking about the growth of the brand, of the Ultra 4 KOH brand since 2011. I mean, Dave had nothing to do with that. That is all you,
Hockey
right?
stick.
100%
you. Do not put that. No,
I'm
that
just saying,
was not ever
Dave.
said.
Look, she's taking credit. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody's
She said she
calling
was
you now. I'm
employee
just saying.
number one.
I'm just
She said she was employee number one.
Yeah.
Is there still an opening for employee number 2?
Yeah, no, I don't
it's
think
like
so.
employee 76 or something like that at this point. So.
But in all honesty, like that's the ramp up, right? That's when when I think about my first KOH experience in the 2011, 12, 13, whatever it was, 14, I think. And to see where it's gone from there, I mean, the amount of effort that has gone into planning that and the exponential growth that's happened at KOH and Ultra 4 in general, how have you guys managed that? How have you managed that piece of it? I mean, it seems like, first, before asking how you managed it, did you know it was going to happen? In 2011, did you know you'd be here in 21, 22?
Yes, I absolutely did. There's few things in my life that I believed in as wholeheartedly as the vision that I saw when it came to Ultra 4 and King of the Hammers. And at the time I had this crazy thing. So I didn't grow up off-roading. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't know it was a thing. I'm from New York, but Western New York. I grew up with horses and stuff, but all girls in my family.
In New York, not that weird city people in New York, not subways.
I'm more Canadian than I am New Yorker. It throws people off a little bit. The Nebraska of New York, yes, exactly. Buffalo Bill country, yes. So that's where I grew up, and I really didn't know off-road was a thing. I happened to have I was a geek. I worked for Blizzard Entertainment back in the day, but I also had a first generation TiVo.
Nice.
And yeah, so I had this buddy hit me up and he's like, there's this thing, gets recorded in the middle of the night. And I'm like, no porn, dude, it's not happening. Yeah. He's like, no. He's like, no, it's this race. And I wasn't into automotive anything at all. And he goes, no, it's this race. It's on in the middle of the night. Would you mind if I recorded it? Because otherwise I'm not going to catch it. I'm like, sure. So he came over, ordered us a pizza and came over to like binge watch it on a Saturday. And it was Dakar. And I had never heard of it. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't know off-roading was a thing. I didn't know. He was a dual sport guy himself. And so I was just fascinated, but I was more fascinated with the bivouacs and how do they get from country to country and how do you move? He's like, that's not, watch the racing. Why do you care how I'm like, no, how do you move things like that? Right. So that was really what got me started. And so I had a dual sport motorcycle first. I was terrible at it. Don't try to take up dual sport motorcycle at the age of 30. Because 10-year-olds are going to whip by you.
Or ever.
Ever.
Yeah. When you get older, you don't bounce the way you used to.
No. Got trapped under it a couple too many times, melted my pants to my leg, that kind of thing. And I'd always said I wanted a Jeep and had kind of been told that, girls shouldn't have Jeeps, whatever. And then ended up with this really great group of friends, which is where I met the business partner. And the wives wheeled, some of them, it was their Jeeps, and there was no, hey, no, you can't do that. So I actually was helping rebuild trails before I owned my Jeep, because I really believed once I got into off-road, I got so into, this is a thing that the world should know about, and this is a thing that we need to protect, and this is a thing that I was all in. So I was Adopt a Trail member with the group that always meets at the Sizzler. I can't think of what it is.
The Trail Chasers?
Corva.
Well, Corva, no, but it's really, no, there's an Adopt a Trail. Honestly, it was run by Forest Ranger and the LA.
Real quick, when's the
Forest Ranger
last
district.
time everybody went to a Sizzler? I can't remember.
I don't even know what
The
it
only
is.
reason we'd go to the Sizzlers had a big meeting room, and so all the off-road clubs in Southern California would meet there. We all had a trail. I think they still do all of that. And quite frankly, like if there'd been a fire on a trail, like John Bull, I helped, bring down trees on John Bull. We'd help move boulders, that kind of thing.
I feel like you skipped a spot where you were in New York and ended up at John Bull.
So
how did you end up?
where did that happen, right?
I moved from
You
New York to
teleported.
John Bull.
She teleported.
Yeah, teleported. It was kind of like that. No, so I went to school. I went to college in Ithaca, graduated. I had been out here for a couple of semesters. The guy I was seeing at the time actually worked at Blizzard Entertainment. So then I interned at Blizzard Entertainment, and then was just kind of involved with that a little bit. But really, I had a better job offer in California from one of the companies that I worked for over summer, which is where I worked for 13 years before I went to King of the Hammers. And so they offered me a job. I moved to California, kept the job, lost the guy, picked up motorcycling, then picked up Jeeping. But the Dakar part of it, really where that came from was through all of that, was I'd ask myself two questions. Will it get me closer to Dakar? And will I get to race more? And if the answer was yes to both those questions, I'd say yes to whatever it was somebody threw at me. Yeah. Want to go race Vegas to Reno? Yes. You want to go do this? Yes. And so I was on this like mad spree of that. So it was, So when King of the Hammers started coming out, when I saw the potential there, I believed in what the guys were doing so much. And quite frankly, before I worked for Dave, I was usually the only woman that would travel. There'd be like 12 teams, and we'd go race, California hill climbs, and we'd go race Best in the Desert. Ultra 4 didn't have its own series. So it'd be like a dozen teams, the Lovels being one of them, if you know Brad Lovell and Roger Lovell, and Rick Mooneyham back in the day. Randy Slauson was certainly one of them. Lauren Healy, actually, too. And so there'd just be 10 to 12 of us. Shannon, of course. There's always been me, and I'm the other Shannon. Yeah. So Shannon.
You're the better Shannon as far as I'm concerned. Because the other Shannon wouldn't come onto my show. So
give him a call.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Call him right now. Call him. Get him on.
My phone's in
Put
the
him on
room.
the phone.
No.
Absolutely.
No, we don't. We have the Shannon we need right here. That's where we're at. We're going to focus on that Shannon.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm going to stop you for an edit.
Yeah.
I think your microphone is hitting the chain on your neck. That's where the scratch is coming from. That's I just noticed it right now.
Got it.
Yeah, the gigantic Odell Beckham chain.
Flavor Flav is looking for his necklace. I'll let him know you've got it.
So how did you win? You won that wrestling match. Congratulations.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I'll edit that whole piece out.
No, that's gold.
No, whatever. So anyway, so you're doing 12 of you. The we'll call them. I know they're not the OG 12 because there's but I mean like the early adopters, the early racers. You guys are doing these random races and challenges and stuff. How was that? So that was before you went to work officially for KOH.
Yeah, can you hear me? Is my mic
Yeah,
back?
you're good. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It said it was off for a second.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was before I worked. I was the only person that really went that wasn't a driver or co-driver, because honestly, these guys were sleeping in the backs of their trucks, or so I was really kind of the only one there telling the story of what was happening, because there wasn't really anybody back then to tell the story. And what these guys were putting into it for nothing other than to just challenge themselves.
Yeah.
I think I posted about this last week, and I post about a lot. I love the community so much, because, I would call them heavy metal cowboys or post-industrial cowboys, right? These are guys that they're not doing it for fame. They're not doing it for fortune. They're not making any money off of it.
Yeah.
They're leaving their families, whatever, but they believed in their mechanical ability. They believed in their driving ability, and they just wanted to see what was possible with them versus the elements. And in the early days, the Ultra 4 cars, I still call them the utility knife of off-road vehicles.
Yeah.
But back then they were really that, because we'd hill climb them, then we'd short course them, then we'd, whatever anybody would invite us to do.
Yeah, it was the only car you had, and that's the one you ran.
Totally. And so
it's interesting.
Yeah.
There's this meme that says, if you want to be a millionaire at off-road racing, you better start with $100 million.
$100 million. I'm used to
here.
hearing 2 or 3.
Yeah. But it's
so.
I think as fans of Ultra 4 and King of the Hammers, and you see the Campbells and the Healys and the Kevin Joneses of the world killing it and making all this money, it's easy to forget the years of blood, sweat, and tears, the amount of own money they're putting into out of their pockets, the effort, and the years of doing it for nobody but themselves.
Nobody, no audience, nothing.
It's really easy, I think, for people to forget that part. And if it wasn't for that effort, if it wasn't for you and the people early on doing it for the sheer love and enjoyment and camaraderie, it wouldn't be what it is today. And what it is today is amazing. It's the most amazing race in the world every year, and it's an amazing race. That how many people were there this year? 100,000 people. We got to see
400 million.
Yeah, we got to see. We had to go into Hammertown one night, and I swear the zombies.
We barely made it out alive.
Like I was. I had to check.
Everybody looked so hungry.
I thought for sure I was going to lose a kidney. Like someone was going to sell one of my organs on the black market.
I blended right in.
What the?
I don't remember leaving.
Yes. So some of the people here don't remember leaving.
In a mere matter of minutes, I became one of them.
Yes, he just blended in. We didn't know.
Right.
But it's really going back to what started this was the from 2011 to 2022. The exponential growth, not only from the race side, but the fan side has been amazing. I can't think of many things in the world that have done what you guys have done.
So I'm not still with them, so it's them at this point.
But I mean, you were part of that, yes.
I was 100%. So I just want to be clear on that, because there's an amazing team doing it, and kudos to them for what they've pulled off, especially since COVID. Everybody told me with that year, they're like, thank God you weren't here. You would have had a coronary. There's just no way around it. So, and I believe that I would have stroked out probably. But for me, the thing for me, because I didn't come from this world, and actually that's the funny thing, neither did Dave Cole. He grew up in Jersey. So I actually had this conversation. I don't know who the actor was, but I was in Tribe's camp, Tribe from Texas, if you know. They're usually on the short course, and I happened to walk over to see them the night before KOH this year, and they had I'm assuming he thought I should know who he was, because we're having this car. I'm like, oh, do you live in Hollywood now? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, well, I'm an actor. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm so not going to be like, oh, what have you been in? Or, he had a beanie on and all of that. So he's like, yeah, I was thinking about going home tonight, but they've kind of convinced me to stay. So it must have been Friday night, because it was I always forget the main race is now on Saturday.
Yeah.
That changed after I wasn't there. So it's still Friday in my head. But he goes, yeah, I wasn't going to stay for the race. And I'm like, that was like throwing water in my face. And he's like, what? I'm like, that's my favorite morning of the entire year. And he said, really? Like, why? And I said, you have no idea what even if you don't even know what energy feels like, even if you aren't somebody who can't like feel the energy of the world around you, all of the hopes, all of the fears, all of the anxiety, all of the love, all of the everything that has built up, and then you can feel it in that horsepower until that green flag drops, is like, you can recreate it every single year, and it's still the most intense feeling I've ever had in my life. And it brings tears to my eyes every single time. And he's like, well, I guess I'm staying for tomorrow morning then. And I'm like, he's like, you should really tell people about this. I'm like, I kind of have.
Yeah. Once or twice I've brought it up.
Once or twice.
But
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say.
I was going to say, tell Brad Pitt he's a jerk. Like,
his name was Wes something. Wes. That was the other part I got.
Was it Wes from
Hollywood?
Wes
from Hollywood.
No, from Big Bang Theory that shows up on Star Trek. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't Wesley Crusher. I'm
Wesley Crusher. That's
he goes around saying, "I'm Wesley Crusher."
I forget what his real name is.
Just like Patrick Stewart goes around, "I'm Captain Picard."
So go back to what you're talking about. Like I love the way you summarize like kickoff of the start. And I saw a clip this year of a truck that got 30 yards from the starting line and rolled. And I just thought, how
did Casey get in there?
That's
right.
That's like kickoff of the Super Bowl, and you blew out your ankle before you caught the ball. Like that is it had to be the single worst moment of that guy's life. Like I don't even remember what racer it was, but
at the same time, he's probably like, you know what? I was going 110%.
I was winning until I heard that story.
I was out in front.
Everything that I had to that race.
That's funny. The rest of his life, he's going to be like, there was a time I was
5 seconds in.
I was leading.
If he made it to the start, it's better than the ones that blow up their cars before the start. There's nothing more heartbreaking than the guys that would come in like the day before and realize that they've destroyed something that they just can't get fixed before the start of that race, especially a new motor or a new car or something like that. The tears are real. The pain is real for those guys. And that was always the big thing for me is just how much they cared. I just wanted the world to know about that. So not coming from off-road, that was the thing for me was that was when I knew we really had something, because when I started trying to explain it to like my college friends that weren't into automotive or into off-road or anything like that, and they're like, this, what, I'm confused. And I'm like, especially people who are like, automotive isn't even a sport, right? And I'm like, no, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Because you have to be smart enough to fix your car, strong enough to replace that tire, and hike over those mountains when you run out of things.
Yes.
Like it is.
That's where you lose me.
Me too.
I'm out. Regardless of that vehicle, you have to, regardless of the vehicle's capabilities, you have to be able to pick a line, drive that line, know what your vehicle can do. Like it's a sport.
If we got to race and we broke down and you could see Hammertown from where we were, we would still just sit there for the next 12 hours. Like none of us. You gonna go back and get that? No.
Somebody give me a beer.
Yeah, I'll wait till the lights.
No, I would run to camp to get what we needed, and then on the way back, here, man, I brought you a beer.
No, I'm
not
running anywhere. No,
no. I'll run the shit.
You can usually find a co-driver that just wants to do it. You got to find the really energetic co-driver.
Yeah, there's always.
They're usually the ones that tell you they CrossFit a lot. Use that guy. Use that guy as your co-driver.
I don't know any of those people. We all look like this for a reason.
Yeah. I do not CrossFit. I will run the whole race if you let me.
Okay.
There's been a couple clips of years past where starter went out 3 miles in, and some dude full get up is trucking in to get it, then has to go back out, and then doesn't get to stop. He still has to put the starter in and then drive the rest of the race or co-drive the rest of the race. It's amazing what these guys do, and I could see from your perspective, seeing the passion in people that are participating, and then the passion from the fans and how that would translate into what it's become.
So that was always the thing for me, is to tell that story. And to tell that story, I never tried to tell the story to the guys on Pirate, never tried to tell it to the people who already came out to the race. I always wanted to tell the story to the guy who was like, how I discovered Dakar. what is this? I have no idea what this is, but now I need to go be a part of this. And coming from that myself, I think that was the story that I was always trying to tell at every turn, was that we spend a lot of our times, and this is going to get deep for a second, but we spend a lot of our times, I think now, trying to manufacture drama because we don't have enough real challenging things in our life. And this isn't well, I guess it's manufactured. They're certainly fabricating the cars, but this is real, right? Like, it's not like that got really interesting because like Discovery Channel tried to do a show on us. They wanted to do something like Deadliest Catch, but with Ultra 4 guys, but they wanted them to hate each other. And they're like, yeah, we don't really hate each other. No,
I heard something about that where the whole deal was, no, look, we'll do a show, but we're not going to pretend to be anything more than it, and kudos to you guys for that. I mean, that's because I think that's one of the other pieces of what Ultra 4 has built, is that there's the camaraderie in the competition, that if this guy breaks down and this pit has the part, they will sacrifice that part and their manpower to get this car back on. Even though this is the direct competition, they will get that guy back on the track, because the whole goal is to get everybody out there to race, to challenge each other and to do it. And
they don't want to beat you in the pits. They want to beat you on the race course.
Yeah.
So
if you don't want to win knowing the best dude was on the sidelines.
Oh, no. I'll take the win.
You don't want to win the Super Bowl with Tom Brady on the side.
Let's be clear.
Let's be clear. You want to beat, you know what I mean? Like,
No, that's exactly true. And that camaraderie, that was interesting because it was so inherent in Ultra 4 US, that brotherhood, that, hey, I've got a spare transmission with me, you can have it, or hey, I've got a spare axle, you can have it. That was just so inherently part of how it worked in the US that it was really interesting for me when we started going to Europe. And so you have a lot more. I didn't realize how much you have. Like, don't get me wrong, people are proud of being American, but the nationalistic pride of, oh, well, I'll help the other UK guys, but I won't help the Portuguese guys, or I'll help them. And we're like, whoa, wait, we're all here to race. We're all going to help each other.
You help me racers.
But the biggest thing is the parts for these types of vehicles are so hard to come by in Europe, that if they gave that transmission up, they might not have another transmission for what we've been experiencing since COVID, right? They were in that realm. And so I remember distinctly the first time I went to Wales with Dave to put on King of Wales. He and I were back at the hotel, and he's like, how do we create the culture in the US over here? Like, how do we force them to give up their parts so the other guy can race? Can we do that? Can we make them do that? And it was really an interesting thing to wrap our head around, because we take for granted that parts, I mean, the last couple of years have been interesting, but that aside, we take for granted how easy it is to get aftermarket parts in the US that are virtually impossible and, quite frankly, illegal. I mean, that was one of the things that kind of blew my mind the most. And I know you guys are big on, off-road and trails and all of that. So I think the thing that blew my mind, there's 3 teams that race in Ultra 4 Europe from the island of Malta. It is illegal to off-road on the island of Malta, and they own 3 Ultra 4 cars that they have to sneak off an island.
What?
Sneak off an island.
That's how bad we are.
Yeah.
Like the 4 of us, that's how bad we are.
Yeah.
On Malta, where it's illegal to off-road, they have 3 cars. We can't do one.
Can't even do one.
Yeah, we can't get one.
We can't do one. Not even one.
Yeah, between the 4 of us and the 28 people we go wheeling with on a regular basis, we can't scrape together a single Ultra 4 car. These guys are risking jail time and fines, and they got it with 3.
And they have to literally cross, they have to get from the island of Malta onto Italy, and then to race in Wales, they'd have to cross again a major body of water to get their 3 cars there, and they'd show up for every single one of them.
That's nuts.
And so you really begin to appreciate what it means to be a part of the off-road community when you see just what other people are willing to do to be a part of that community, especially globally, right? And you asked earlier about if I knew King of the Hammers was going to grow the way it did. I think the other part that I kind of left out of that's really important, and is the other thing that's really near and dear to me, is it had to, or we would have lost the hammers. So when Dave and I came together, he, I was a full-time employee, but I'd say half my time was spent saving the hammers those first several years. And that was the thing. In fact, that actor asked me about that night, and he's like, how did it grow like this? Because we weren't trying to grow this. We weren't trying to be big and cool. We were trying to make people care about this place enough so that we didn't lose it forever to the Marines, which was a really tough thing because, off-roaders for the most part are very supportive of our armed forces. Yeah. And so to be literally at war with them over this land was excruciating. But we knew anybody that we went to that was smarter than us said the only way you're going to save this is make enough people care about it. And so we had no choice. It was do or die. And so I think that added a real element to things that I think people have lost sight of really what we were able to save out there.
Yeah.
Because, now it's just there and you get to be entertained by it.
It's just there for us to go whenever we want to do our thing. But there was a period of time where that was on the table, and that whole area would have been taken away, and we wouldn't be able to go just do stuff, and King of the Hammers wouldn't be a thing, and Ultra 4 wouldn't be and like that was very, very pivotal in the world of not only in competitive off-roading, but in recreational off-roading in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. It was everything for us. I mean, it was literally, I would lie awake at night thinking about, and I'd get calls from Dave at 3:00 in the morning. We're going to lose it. We're going to lose it all. How do we save this? And I mean, it kept us up. It kept us motivated. It kept us hungry, in a way that, it just makes me really stinking proud to be out there and see that it's still, it's one of the only areas. It was the first to be federally designated as OHV land. I mean, does that mean it's permanently protected? No, but it makes it a hell of a lot harder to just take it from us. And I learned so much during that whole process. But really the biggest thing is we had people in every state in the country, calling and shutting down like the switchboards in Washington, D.C. on specific days with, you have to save the hammers, you have to save the hammers. So we had senators and congressmen and also, what the hell's the hammers? Why do I care? I'm in Maryland. Why are my constituents calling me?
Why are these weird dirt people worried about big rocks in the desert? I don't understand.
I don't think people. I don't want to be part of a world without the hammers.
Yeah, yeah.
We certainly didn't. I mean, I'll tell you, she's still a very dear friend of mine. Her and her husband raced for years, but she and I sat one night when we're like, "What the hell are we going to do if we lose this place?" Because it was so important to us as recreational wheelers. Even that's the first place my TJ ever hit dirt was out at the Hammers. I mean, it was where my friendships were formed. It was where. It's still one of my favorite places on the planet. Mm-hmm. And she and I literally, we had a pact. We were like, nope, we're going to chain ourselves in the back door. We're going to be those crazy, crazy girls that chain themselves to a thing and make the Marines take us out of here where they are. We don't care. We're going to be those girls. Thank God. That was anything I did for the goal of not having to chain myself to the back door. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was prepared to. I promised to do it, but I don't want to.
I'd really rather come up with a different way to do this than chaining myself to the back door.
So you were out there a couple weeks ago?
I was, yeah.
When you go out there to the event, now that you're not intricately involved, do you still yearn for it? Is there a part of you that like, I want to get back involved, or are you okay just sitting back and watching?
So the first year I wasn't there, I couldn't. It was too close, and I would have jumped back in on everything. But when I said I can't, when I told my fiance, I said I gotta go back. I can't not. I mean, I separated myself, and he, to his credit, he said, because I was an independent consultant, that's what I did. Like I just couldn't be team anybody after that for a while. I had a lot of really cool offers, but he's like, you're not working for any of your clients out there. You're not representing anybody. You are going to go out there and you are going to thoroughly enjoy this thing that you helped create. And you're not lifting a finger to do anything but go out there and see your people. He goes, otherwise I'm not supporting you going out there because I know it's going to happen. Because I tend to crank everything up to 11.
That surprises me. I wouldn't have known that about you. That's wow. That's
right?
New information. Okay.
Yeah, no, shocking. So I did. I went out there, and it was the best, biggest family reunion. I mean, I don't think most people in their lives get a chance to like, you go to somebody's funeral and you wish you said all these things to them that you didn't say. I kind of had that experience real time though, because like I just disappeared, right? So all these people that had just kind of assumed that I was Ultra 4, I would be with Ultra 4 forever, and I was like, peace, see you later. We'd gone through a lot of stuff. I'd lost some people really close to me. We lost a mentor at Ultra 4. I just got burnt.
Yeah.
And so when I went back out there, I had grown men with tears in their eyes telling me how much they loved me and how much I meant to them, and like their names that and just grabbing me and so grateful to see me again and telling me wonderful, amazing things about myself that, these are my heroes. To have your heroes say these things to you was huge and humbling, super, super humbling. And it was pretty funny because John Goodby's a good friend of mine, and he runs NorCal Rock Racing, if you're familiar with that series. And he was saying, he goes, how's it going? I'm like, there's not a lot of tears. He goes, from you? I'm like, nope, not for me. Well, yeah, they get me to cry a little bit, but no, they're just coming up and they're crying on me. And he's like, who? I'm like, the racers and their wives. He's like, oh, the wives. I'm like, no, they're racers. So we're standing there and I'm telling him this, and he's like, really? And I said, yeah. And all of a sudden this guy walks up to me from the bonfire, Shannon, and just like starts in with tears. He's like, oh shit, this is a thing. I'm like, it's a real thing. And but to be able to receive that kind of love from people who mean the world to you I don't think most people get to experience that. I wish more people got to experience it while they were alive, right? And not like just their obituary kind of.
Well, the thought of Steve Garvey coming up to me so happy, and he's like in tears. That's how I equate that right there.
Yeah, there you go.
What I was going to say was that there, people like you, people get passionate. People bury their soul, their lives into something for a period of time, and a lot of times you leave from that, and you don't know if your efforts had an impact on people. Right. So you being able to experience that it's a gift, because it validates you, and you think about the nights you set up at night and worried about these things, and you can walk away from that going, I had an impact. I regardless of where you're at today or what you do, at that moment your efforts were received by people and you had an impact. And I think that's one of those things, to your point in life, that a lot of times you don't get to experience, and it's amazing that you got that from so many people, especially people that you have a lot of love and respect for.
Mm-hmm. It was a beautiful thing, an absolutely beautiful thing. So it's been neat. So now I'm kind of to the point that when I go out there, Dave and I are still good friends, and it's kind of funny because I'll just hang out near him and like finish sentences for him or remind him that he might need to tell somebody else what he just promised somebody there, or and just kind of be like, that might need to get over to that person. And
I'm surprised you don't show up in like masquerade so nobody knows you, like hood over, like a V for Vendetta mask, and you're like, no, Shannon's not here.
Yeah, pretty much. There's no way. So my sisters would come out who did not grow up off-roading either. One of them works for the University of Rochester, and she's like the head of financial aid, and then the other one works on the Veterans Crisis Hotline for a living, which is the most intense job I could possibly think of. And she comes out to King of the Hammers and she's like, I could never do your job. This is the most intense thing ever. And I'm like, well, likewise, because I couldn't do yours. Yeah. So, and she used to run the start finish line for me. And then my sister was literally my right hand, but she looked so much like me. The first time that she went to leave my motorhome out there, I'm like, you don't want to go out there. They're going to bombard you. They're going to have questions. They're going to want to know things, and they're going to think you have answers. And she's like, it can't be that bad. And I'm like, okay, do you. She went out. I don't think she was out there 5 minutes. She came back and she slams my motorhome door and she's like, what was that? I'm like, don't make eye contact and just move fast. That's all you have to do. Like, just don't. And she's like, they all want answers for everything all the time. I'm like, yes, they do. Yes, they do. And this was, early days. Yeah.
And it's not a group of docile people. It's not a group of people that are complacent and easy to get along with. It's like, they're throttled down all the time.
The alphas of alphas, yes, for sure.
Yes.
So she ended up making herself this shirt. She's a Star Wars fan, and so the back of it said, not the Welch you're looking for.
I think didn't you guys post that? You guys posted that somewhere. I remember seeing
and
that.
And then she had a not Shannon was what the name said on it. So whenever she was at the campfire or something, she thoroughly enjoyed when she'd be like, Shannon, read the sign. So it was cool to have them out there helping me and get them involved in it. And actually they ended up, Dave called me a week before King of the Hammers this year, and he's like, hey, we could really use some help moderating the live chat, the live feeds everywhere. And I'm like, and I was just silent. He goes, I'm not asking you. I'm like, good, because that wasn't going to happen. He's like, but do you think maybe your sisters might be interested in doing it again? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure Carrie has just been waiting on the sideline saying, put me in, coach.
Yeah.
So she jumped back on it.
Can you imagine if this group moderated the chat?
Oh, my God.
This would be the best thing in the world. Dave,
There'd be no moderation.
Dave, if you're listening, oh my God, if you're listening,
we'd be the problem.
I tell you what, we will film
views.
it. Yes, it will be the biggest shit show you've ever seen, but it'll be hilarious.
Record-breaking views.
Record-breaking.
I'm doing it.
Shut up, jerk. Like, just, and maybe a little bit more comfortable than, colorful.
So the one that works with Veteran Suicide Hotline, or Crisis Hotline, which that's what they deal with mostly. She messaged me after she had shoulder surgery, so she was off for the week, and she's like, I think the military should stop with waterboarding as a form of torture and just make people moderate YouTube comments for a week. They'll give up anything they know at that point.
Don't make me do it anymore. Don't make me do it anymore.
She's like, and who the hell is Light Bright? That was she just kept saying. I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Sorry.
Yes, it is. It is a thing. That I didn't think about that as something that somebody had to do, but now it's what I want to do. I now think it would be the funniest thing, and we have to film the whole thing and screen grab everything at all times, and then it would just turn into a year's worth of memes. Released every day leading up to the next year's King of the Hammers, and be like, don't be this jackass. Don't look at what this jackass said. Don't say that. I think it would be funny.
It would be funny. It would be funny. It would definitely be a different take on it for sure. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, our YouTube comments are a minor fraction of anything that would happen in one day of King of the Hammers. And the YouTube comments we get are all from the same 30 people that we know. But I know what YouTube comments look like, and I can't imagine on that scale what kind of, I mean, already in the chat room, I can think of three guys that we need to kick out for no reason. But we let them in every week anyways. So are you still wheeling? Do you still have the TJ? Do you still get out and explore?
I do still have the TJ. Actually, I will say, so the TJ has been my daily driver since I bought it in 2006 last year. The TJ. Yeah, in fact, it still has. So this is probably how I ended up working for King of the Hammers. Was it still has the cowl punch in it from Aftershock when Dave Cole was supposed to be leading a guest celebrity run and didn't have a vehicle and convinced me that my daily driver was going to do Aftershock and he was going to spot me through it. This is before I went to work for him. And he's like, you and I, we got this. And I'm like, all right, we got this. So he promised me no body damage. And I will say, to his credit, he said, stay right there. And he went to walk forward. And I'm like, oh, I got this. But I didn't realize that I literally had about this much tire on like the precipice of this thing. And it just kind of slid down and punched the cowl. And he's offered to he's like, can we get that fixed? I'm like, no, that's Dave Cole right there on my Jeep. And it's still right there.
You should have him sign it.
We just did when we were out at Hammers this year. We took a group of people and we did a couple trail runs, and I do the same thing. I look at everybody and go, no, you got this. Yeah, you just keep going. But it's so far I haven't wrecked anybody's truck yet.
Honestly,
I tried.
That was all my fault, and I got a little cocky in that moment. But we got me through Aftershock. Every other we showed up, and I'm like, Dave, these people, they are not going to be down for this on any level. I'd be like, who the hell is this girl, and why is she here right now? They're all on 40s. They're all like rocking Gen Right suspension or Poison Spider or whatever. And I've got a 3.5-inch short arm lift on 33-inch tires, and I'm yeah, I'm doing aftershock today. So he's like, no, I got this. So he gets out of the vehicle and goes, Shannon's with me, any problems? And I'm like, oh, great, you got that, great, Dave, thanks. So, well, then it got even funnier. This is another random off-road story. I get out, and I know most of the guys that are on this run, and I'm like, oh, and they're like, we saw that little red Jeep come up, and we knew it was freaking you. And I'm like, sorry, guys. Well, I'd met them because the 2 months after I bought the Jeep, not even 2 months. So we have a friend, she actually has a YouTube channel called Rubicon Scat. And she just films everything for fun that she's ever done. She literally is an Orange County housewife that is just the most badass wheeler I personally know. And so she'd film everything. And apparently there was this TV show called On the Rocks that was coming out about off-roading.
Yep. I've watched that show. Yes.
Oh, well, because I was the pilot episode of that show, actually.
Because they did like the Dirty 30, and they did like
it was like Dirty Dozen.
Yes,
yep. So they said, send in your audition tapes. We want real characters. I'd owned my Jeep 2 months. It didn't have any armor on it. It had nothing on it. And she thought she would be really funny because they were all going to audition, and she sent in an audition tape for me, and she didn't tell me she sent in an audition tape for me. And all of a sudden I'm getting this call from the producer's assistant, and she's like, we have this audition tape, and we don't actually have an application. I'm like, oh, there's a reason for that. I have absolutely no interest in being a part of a reality show with my 2-month-old Jeep. And she's like, well, we really think we would be interested in having you. And I'm like, yeah, my Jeep has no armor on it. Like, I'm only going if you put me in the same group with my friends, because I'm still learning how to wheel my own Jeep, because I'd been the spotter, picture taker, trail rebuilder for 2 or 3 years before I had my own Jeep. And yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, they lie through their teeth. They just put you in whatever order you show up, because they had like 200 people trying out for the show. They'd rearranged the beginning of, what trail was it in Big Bear? Because it was a trail I'd run, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. But they'd moved the boulders. I can't think of what it is. Not
Gold
Jump
Mountain.
Ball. No.
Casey.
Holcomb Creek.
Holcomb. And so it was pretty easy. You just kind of go up and slip in. But no, they actually moved it. So you had to do this like giant, like climb over a boulder to get into it thing. Then, because it's for TV, they put this like big blinding thing to like illuminate you in the car. So you can't actually see where you're going on top of this. None of my friends are in my group. Everybody around me was the same guys on 40s that I'm now wheeling with an aftershock 3 years later, right? I made it through. Yeah, it was weird because I didn't know any of these people, but like all the big names were there. Del Albright was there, like, and I didn't know who any of these people were. I was the only single female actually out there, which is I think half the reason, in all fairness, that they selected me for the show and put me in the pilot episode, because they were trying to get Jeeps. Jeep wanted something that would women. I was the demographic
they were going for a demographic
after.
Exactly.
So I was the token, if you will, and so then they come out with the show, and we show up the first episode, and like I'm expecting it's going to be all these badass guys. Nope, the whole first episode is me, and I'm like, well, that wasn't what I was expecting at all. Fortunately, it didn't go very far, but
yeah, they only did like a handful of episodes, and it was on like a public access channel or something.
Yeah, it was on like Outdoor Network or something. I haven't even seen. I think I have a disc with it on it around here, but I don't think I have anything that plays a disc anymore. So,
what's a disc?
Yeah. Right,
dude. Like, you're too old. Jose's the only one here that could ask that question.
Yeah, no. So that was So it's always been sink or swim for me in the off-road world, always. But it was the same group of guys on Aftershock that day, and that was before I worked for Dave. But that was the day that I told him I don't want to go on Pirate and look for a Jeep recovery team, and all of that happened because we had a chance to bond out there over all of that, and I told them I'm going to do anything I can to save the hammers, just so you know, and so we apparently had like minds at that point. So I still wheel, not as much as I did, but now I was gifted a Trailhawk in the fall, so now I'm like, let's play, let's see what she can do. So
what kind of Trailhawk?
Trailhawk, a black one.
Is it
it's the Cherokee?
The Grand
Cherokee? It's not the Trackhawk. Yeah, Grand Cherokee.
The Grand Cherokee.
Sorry.
Okay.
VK2.
Yeah, no, actually, business partner. It was his way of thanking me for getting us to the finish line with getting this project up and going.
That's awesome.
The cold storage project. So, yeah, it was. He's like, thank you for getting us here, and I'm really tired of seeing you drive that damn TJ everywhere. And I didn't know how far vehicles had come. I was still wheeling up my windows, right?
Yeah.
And like,
that's okay. You could buy a Gladiator today and still have to roll up your windows because that's how Jeep is doing
Standard.
it. Right, Adam? Right, Adam, in the chat room, right? Yep. It's 2022 and he's still rolling up his windows and he has to reach in to unlock the back door.
I forgot that there were other versions of the Trailhawk. I totally forgot that. But no, I've got the Grand Cherokee Trailhawk fully.
I think you can get some that the windows don't even roll down in.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but it does all sorts of fancy things. So, like when the windshield wipers came on by themselves, I was like, what is this magic? And when it tells me to stay in my lane, I'm like, that's amazing.
My wife has a new car. It's a Volvo, and it's got this lane keeping assist thing. So when if you try to change lanes, without signaling, it like shakes. And I'm like, no, F you, I'm going. And she's like, if you would just turn the signal on, that's not the point. God damn it!
I'm just like, that's not happening. No,
that's how they used to break horses back in the day. You had to like, you're doing what I want. So I just keep thinking that's what I got to do. This stupid Explorer.
Every damn time I drive that thing, I'm like, no, I'm winning this. So that Grand Cherokee Trailhawk is going to be awesome. We had a Grand Cherokee and I loved it. Casey had a ZJ, I had a WJ. I love the Grand Cherokee line. And I bet you can have a lot of fun in that thing. We do
fun, sure, and it will tow behind the RV. But the TJ is probably getting some upgrades here. We might actually get some 40s? New axles and some. That's just cheating. There was nothing I loved more than because I've wheeled the Rubicon, I've wheeled Moab, and I loved rolling up to it. And people be like, what are you doing? What are you doing in that stock Rubicon? I'm like, you can't do that. And I love just being a sleeper Jeep and just.
Yes.
I'm that girl that would actually appreciate owning a Willys and just taking a Willys everywhere and banging that through. I love finding the lines. We
saw a CJ7 the other day at lunch, a yellow one. It was like exactly the same year that I had, and I'm just like, part of me wants to get another one of those and just take it out, but my kidneys probably couldn't handle it. So but I appreciate the idea of like, you know what, I can make it on 33s. I don't need this, but I don't know.
35s, 37s, maybe. Fiance wants 40s. I'm like, I don't think I need 40s. I feel like that's just.
Now you got to try to get up into the Jeep every time.
That's a whole thing. There's that too.
Yeah. You have to.
All fairness, Dave did give me a company car for my last year I worked for him. So I did have a fully tricked out JK on, I think it was on 40-inch tires. It was insane. I was like, this is a beast. It's a tank going down the road. So I did do that. I couldn't see where the tires were on it. I thought I ripped the gas line off my house the first time I pulled it in and parked it in my driveway. I'm like, going from my little red is what everybody calls my Jeep to that KOH tank was interesting. It was interesting.
What's your outside of Hammers? So you can't say Hammers. What's your favorite place to go wheeling?
I mean, you gotta love the Rubicon, but for me, Moab is magical. Moab is just it. I have been there for Easter Jeep Safari. I love it so much better when you're not there for Easter Jeep Safari. And so for me, I love Moab. I will tell you to just get away and go explore. Before I had my Jeep, my best friend had a Jeep, and he happened to have a conference out in Phoenix. So he said, hey, fly out and we'll go wheel Sedona.
Yes.
And so
Sedona's gorgeous.
It's not hard wheeling, but man, it's just stunning out there. So I enjoy that too. But just for fun and to go get lost, anything off of 395, like, I actually, so after I left King of the Hammers, I went and I did Melraid's JKXs for 2 years. So I put those on, which was really a lot of fun. So I actually got to wheel the entire Northeast.
Oh, wow.
So flew into New York. I got the rental JL because I was always a step ahead of the whole group that was wheeling. But, you know, got to meet them and got to be out on the trails and stuff. So New England started in New York and went all the way up to Maine, and that was stunning. But the one we did that I loved was we went from Reno down the 395, stopping at a bunch of ghost towns along the way, camping out under the stars in ghost towns, and drove into, what's that mine? Surprise Mine, I want to say.
Yeah,
I think it's called Surprise Mine.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that the one you can drive into?
Yep,
like
for sure, near Lone Pine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I did that.
Reward Mine?
Oh, it might be Reward Mine. You might be right. It might be Reward Mine. I might be getting surprise and reward. Same difference, right? No.
If I get a reward, it's definitely a surprise. I'll tell you that right now.
Something. But I had done that like over 4th of July years ago, long before King of the Hammers was a thing for me, and had really loved it. So then getting to take like all these big names, you know, like I think we had Casey Curry with us, and we had the owner of Skyjacker and all of those guys with us, and get to take them on stuff that I remembered loving in my Jeep early on, and them finding it as magical was a really cool thing to do too. So
yeah, you mentioned how like Moab's not or Sedona not hard wheeling. One of the things that we have done is we've really cultivated like the idea that you can wheel anything you've got, whatever you've got, bring it out. Let's have fun. A challenge for a Jeep Renegade is just as exciting as a challenge for the JK on 40s. It doesn't, you know, sometimes the scenery and the camaraderie and the campfire is every bit as much fun as tackling the hill. And if you can find a way to do all of it at the same time, it's great. We, you know, our time out at the Hammers, there was a couple really challenging obstacles that we made up. Everybody but Casey made up. And then, you know, it was still, we were talking about at the campfire, but you know, we didn't.
He will forever be taunted.
Oh God, I can't even believe. So, you know, some people just don't sack up. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Most quiet he's been.
I know. It doesn't matter. But the whole idea that you can have, you know, racers, Casey Curry, you mentioned, like they can have just as much excitement and enjoyment about the territory, the terrain around them, and sharing the time with their family as doing 120 miles an hour in the desert. Right?
Yeah.
It's there's so much more to off-roading, I think, than sometimes people are like, off-roading is this. Not necessarily. It could be this. It could be everything in between. And you know, we find a way to have that camaraderie with everybody.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And I think that always surprises me, especially because names that I guess you say around other people, I'm like, you know that guy? Or like, they're just a friend. They're just a wheeler. Like, just walk up to him and talk to him. It's really not because we all started in the same place. And I think that's the thing that really unites anybody who loves off-road is that you have an appreciation for a different way of life that a lot of the world will never know.
Yeah.
That have never left a city. You know, one of the cool things I did so I don't know how much you guys do here in Southern California. I don't even know if it's a thing. But I used to do Kids on Public Lands every year, which is they bus kids in up to Big Bear, inner city kids from LA that have never been to Big Bear, never been in the mountains before. And you get to give them a ride through, you know, I don't think we did John Bull, but, you know, did some trails up there with them. So I've got this, you know, 8-9-year-old girl in my passenger seat, and she's like, who takes care of all these trees? Like, that must take a lot of gardeners. and I never thought about that, right? Like, there are people who will never know what that's like. And when you get to, and the people that do, you already have a connection with them, even if you've never talked to each other before.
Yeah.
I think so.
The night sky in the Mojave Desert over Memorial Day weekend is one of the most beautiful things you could ever see in your lifetime, right? And there are a lot of, to your point, there's 95% of the world, even 95% of Californians haven't seen that, right? And like when it comes to sharing that with your family and your friends and being able to sit around and look at those stars and those things, and I think it builds on. When you go out and you see that's what causes people to build their trucks bigger and explore further and go deeper. It's because you're like, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I'm only an hour off of the highway. What happens if I go further, right? And that's one of the things that we try to do is find a way to do that and do more and share it with people, because it's an amazing experience. And we have someone that's recently joined our group that, a year ago enjoyed camping and stuff, but had never off-roaded. And now she bounces up trails. Matter of fact, she made it up this hill. She made it up this hill over the last trip. It was, her third time wheeling in her Ford Ranger, and she made it up this hill. It was the same one that Casey didn't make. But it was
it burns. But it's burning him so bad.
But she's been wheeling 3 times, and some people are just good at it, and some people aren't. There's not a lot you could do about it. So I'm glad that you still get the chance to go out and do that. When you're not wheeling, what's your thing? How do you seem to me like someone that's always got to have a to-do list and a lot of things going on at one time.
There's a lot of things.
What do you do to occupy yourself?
All the things. So I am on the board of directors for Blue Ribbon Coalition, which is a land use group. I see you've got Corva on the wall over there. I've certainly done work with them and with all of them over the years. And the Save the Hammers fight, we're involved with all of them. What I like about Blue Ribbon Coalition is they're the fighting arm, quite frankly. They're the ones that really go after the legislation. They're the ones that put legal defense funds together. Don't get me wrong, some of the other ones do too, but they do it on a national level, and have for 30 years. They've definitely been going through some changes because, I can only, the passionate people that started it 30 years ago, some of them have passed away. Some of them are in their 80s, the founding members. And I certainly learned some things from them, but times have changed. So I'm trying to get them more involved in social media, trying to rebrand them a little bit, things that, I brought to King of the Hammers and other stuff, because for me, if we don't keep the trails open, there's no point. That's my legacy, really. I mean, when I go out to Hammers and see kids at the Hammers, I feel such a sense of pride. And it certainly wasn't me. There were thousands, but knowing that I had a hand, that I wanted to do something, that we set out and we did it. I would just want to do that for other people in other places that matter to them. So do that for fun, I guess. It's not fun, but but needs to be done. So I do that. Deep sea fishing. We're big into deep sea fishing. That, for me, I think it was you, Cody, that said that you've recently made the switch to making off-road your career. Kudos to you for that. I will tell you, when I made off-road my career, I thought it would be the best thing ever. And in some regards it was. On the other hand, it used to be my escape. And it stopped being that for me, because if I saw you on a trail, you were going to tell me how I can make King of the Hammers better, or what I did wrong, or what I could be doing better. And I was always on, right? So this place that used to be where I would go to escape from the realities of my world wasn't that anymore. So fishing became that for me, because my cell phone didn't work. Mm-hmm. Most of the guys on a boat didn't care that I was involved in King of the Hammers at all. Every once in a while, I'd have something on, like, what do you know about that? Nothing at all. Yeah. So I could go be nameless, faceless out there and just really enjoy the challenge of catching big fish. And so I do that. I go to Baja a lot. I love Baja. Love everything about Baja. I did help with the Mexican 1000 for a few years down there, which was cool. And I don't know, what else do I do? I build cold storage facilities now for fun. But no,
it's not fun. It's not fun. Trust me. I've done it.
It was really funny, because when my buddy asked me to do it, though, I was like, I don't know anything about this, and it doesn't sound sexy at all. And he's like, if I make you enough money that you could go do any sexy thing you wanted to do, is that worthwhile for you? I'm like, keep talking.
Fine, I'll do it. Fine.
It turns out off-road racing doesn't make you a millionaire, even if you're the promoter, for the record. Yeah. I did not help my retirement fund by joining the circus by any stretch, going from corporate America to doing that. I mean, I made a decent salary, but it wasn't a good retirement plan. But really, more than anything, when he brought it to me, I said, how do my skills equate to something like this? And he's like, we have to deal with planning commissions. We have to deal with cities. I'm like, oh, BLM and the Marines and the insurance and it really I never would have guessed it would have equated as much as it did. But really, the things that I learned how to do to make things happen, to put on races in places where people didn't want races to happen, kind of works when you're building a facility that they don't want trucks in the neighborhood, or they don't want this in the neighborhood of, look, but this is what we're going to do that's good for the community. This is what we're doing that can be good. And when you can speak that language, you can make things happen, which is what I try to do with land use, which is what I do with the cold storage. And I don't know, I geek out on strange things. How's that?
No. Well, and so going back to your skill sets, you know, if I could boil it down to the simplicity or the simple, I know.
Do the simplical.
Boil it down to the
simplical.
I like simplical. That was solid.
Came out.
We'll go with that.
As soon as it came out, I knew.
Hashtag simplicity.
That's, I'm gonna get a shirt that says I'm simplical. You're a project manager. You're an event manager, a project manager. I've got tasks stacked up in front of me. I'm going to find the most efficient way to do it, or I'm going to find the right people to get them done. And you know, a lot of times project management, whether that be
everything's on fire, what do I put out first?
Exactly.
It's triaging. It's literally triaging.
I was just telling someone the other day, being a project manager is having more work than you know what to do with, knowing that you're never going to get it all done, but continuing to try anyways. Like that's the extent of a project manager.
Or how do you get started on something like how do you eat an elephant? One bite. You gotta start.
Well, that's how you guys started this, right? You guys said, "Hey, we're 200 episodes in, and but you're still trying. You're still doing it."
I'm tired of elephants. Yes, they're disgusting.
How do you eat an elephant? With hot sauce and ice cold beer.
But I mean I'm going to assume, make some assumptions that you have processes that you follow, and you're very detailed, and you know how to follow up, and you know how to task people with things, and that translates to whether you're building a race or building a cold storage facility,
and creating the narrative. So the biggest thing is really getting people to understand why you're doing it, right? Like, so for me, it wasn't just building a cold storage facility. Like, I sat down with my business partner, I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because, you know, it's good business. And no, I'm not just doing it for the money. I don't do anything for the money. But what do we believe in? What do we want to do? And we want to do it better than what's out there right now. We want to hire people from within the community. Like our general manager at the facility, he grew up down the street. He's badass. I thought I was impressive at 31 years old. He's twice what I did at 31 years old. And he literally grew up down the street. And he's getting to hire people from the community he grew up in. And I'm like, okay, I can get on board with something like that.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, like, okay, we're going to, you know, we set our values. Our values are on the wall, and getting people. I can work with anybody if we have a shared vision. And so that was really where I went after King of the Hammers. Is I clients would call me, people who knew me and knew the phrase that gets used a lot with me, project manager, is a much nicer PC way of saying it. But most of the time, literally people introduce me as it's not a kid show, right?
No, it's not a kid show.
So the get shit done girl.
Yeah.
So like, that's like, I'm a mercenary in some regards, but I'm not, if you're calling me and you're calling me with, hey, I want to make money, I am not interested. Or, hey, I want to beat this person at this thing, that doesn't interest me. Why are you doing it? Because I want to be the best? Okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Because I want to give back? Okay, I'm in. Like, if I can get behind what your values and your vision are, and we can then tell the world what your values and your vision are, I am all in on helping people. That's really how I got started in all this. I'm a storyteller, and I just have to believe in your story. And if I believe in your story, I want to tell the world your story. And then we start from there. And then I make every person that's involved in your organization believe in that story the same way. And from your management team on down. And then you have a team of people that like each other and want to work together and understand why they get up in the morning and come to work, because nobody gets up in the morning for a paycheck. That's not why you get up.
And it's so important. Like, the feeling of,
but I mean, the paycheck doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Not disagreeing. Not disagreeing.
Okay.
But I will. Going to work with people that you appreciate and you respect and you know have got your back, and you can, you know, you want to hang out with them on the weekend, and you know that there's something amazing about that. And then when something comes, like I don't want to go down a path. That's very fragile. It's very fragile, and it can be broken. And when it happens, when it breaks, it breaks my heart. so for you to recognize how to turn that story into passion and how to translate that passion to a team and then how to make that team be passionate together about a goal, that's why you're successful. Not because you get shit done, but because you believe it and you get everybody else around you to believe it. And then when people believe things, there's nothing that can't be accomplished.
That's what King of the Hammers is. It's thousands of people who believed in something and took ownership in it. And King of the Hammers, and the reason it's going to be really hard for anybody to ever recreate another King of the Hammers, and where it is a lot like Burning Man, is that it's a community of people who came together around a core set of beliefs, which was certainly saving the hammers, but it was also that we live life a little bit differently, right? Like everybody gets to bring their inner superhero out there. If you're the geeky IT guy in your group of friends, you become the ham radio guy and the guy who's setting up your comms and you know, all of that out there. If you're the person that loves to cook for everybody, you're figuring out how to meal prep for 30 people for a week and cook off of a Dutch oven or whatever. And so everybody gets to be the superhero version of themselves for a little while out there. And it's a world of creators. And not consumers. And I have a whole theory on that we don't even have time for. But in general, like when you go to Supercross or you go to something like that, you pay a lot of money for a ticket and you sit in the stands with your beer and you're like, entertain me. I am here to be entertained.
Yeah.
And the core community that came out to King of the Hammers and the core community that's still there every year is a group of people who believed in the same vision for it. And that used to blow me away. The people would come and go, this is what I did to help save the hammers. This is what I did to make the early King of the Hammers happen. I volunteered at the gate. I did this. I'm invested in this somehow. And it was pretty interesting. One year, I think we had the guys come out from Long Beach Grand Prix, right? And they were like, how do you have this many engaged people out here? And this was early on. They're like, our spectators leave a mess and pay for their ticket, want to be entertained, dump their stuff when they're done, and we're cleaning up the grandstands afterwards. And the fact that they clean up after themselves, the fact that there's not trash everywhere in Hammertown, was just, it blew their minds. And it was like, because it's this entire group of people who believed in the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's changed a lot over the years. I think you have people that come out there that are nothing more than, I paid my ticket, entertain me. Wreck your crap on Backdoor. I have no interest in those people, to be honest. That's not what I sold it for.
No, and I think what, if you go back to the early days and the core people that were either participants or spectators, the tread lightly, the pack it in, pack it out, the core principles of off-road were a big part of that. I think what's happened with off-roading and overlanding and King of the Hammers in general, it has exploded over the last couple years, and there's people that are coming in that didn't have the guidance of someone. And
now they're getting exposed.
They weren't grandfathered in.
Yeah,
they weren't grandfathered in. They weren't vetted into
correct.
This community.
So it's up to us
they
as a
paid
community.
Money and they showed up.
Correct. It's up to us as a community to coach them, not berate them, but to coach them in the right ways to treat the land. So
can I shame them?
You can. Go ahead.
I think we're allowed to shame them once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
shame them the way a coach would shame them. Like that was the shittiest at bat I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
you're going to be benched.
What kind of pitch was that?
Yeah. Right. What kind of play?
Are you sure you're not left-handed?
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
But honestly, that's one of the things that as a community we can do to continue the legacy is to coach the new people. Give them the guidance, things like Save the Hammers, things like some of the shows, the YouTube channels and the podcasts out there that are helping to spread that message. All of that is part of how Hammers continues and overlanding and off-roading, all that continues without the impact, and the volunteering and the giving back is all part of it. I think that is what will continue allowing us to do what we do. You know what I mean? It's we all got to be part of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's tough sometimes. You see them just you're like, how did you get out here in that? And why am I having to rescue you right now? Like, why is
Casey came out in a Blue Frontier and we had to...
I was just going to say, they're like, it's a Frontier.
It's a Frontier. But you're right. And sometimes people need to be berated because they do stupid stuff. But I think for the most part...
Some people like it.
I know. Some people have good money for it.
Sometimes I berate
some
myself
people
for
get
doing
married
stuff.
for it, right, Matt? Right? I mean, isn't that what attracted you to my sister?
It's been like 15 years, so
she's really good at it. I think that
I have to like it. I guess.
I do.
So how's Jose related? If your brother-in-law's and you've got the last name.
So Matt's my brother-in-law. Casey's my brother. Jose showed up one day, and we haven't been able to get rid of him since. It literally,
I don't know where it came from.
Literally, he showed up on one of the first trail runs we did in 2018, and now my daughter calls him Uncle Jose. Yeah. I don't even know
we
how
organized
it happened.
a trip just through down like the listenership. Hey, we're meeting up in Big Bear at Starbucks Saturday, 8:30. Show up, and me and my wife are driving up there, and Monty's like, nobody's showing up here. It's going to be you and Cody. And you guys are going to go hit some trails, like the two of you. And we had like...
Little did she know Jose was coming.
Yeah, then Jose showed up and, I don't know, like 5 or 6 other people. So ever since then, Jose... there he is.
Everywhere we go. Everywhere we go.
Texas Jesus of trail chasers, it sounds like, if you guys have ever heard of
Texas Jesus. I need to hear this story.
So Texas Jesus is an Instagram account. You can go find him. But so Dave put out the call the first year I worked for Dave. He said, if you can find your way here, I'll feed you and I'll put you in an RV, but you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your entire life. And we had like 6 guys show up that way the first year that I worked for Dave out there. And one of them was this guy who, if you go look at his Instagram account, you'll understand why he's called Texas Jesus. He shows up from Texas. He had a few other nicknames that first, like he looked a little bit like Forrest Gump from the running phase of things or whatever. Yeah. And he showed up and he lived at Dave's property for like 7 years, and he put on all the races with us, and he was just he's actually one of my best friends. Actually, I love going to Baja with him. He is one of the most cool free spirits that's out there. The same thing is true with Kyle Segalin. If you guys have been following the electric vehicle out at King of the Hammers, right? I
remember that. Yep.
The Nissan Leaf truck 4Runner. So we call him Boston. He literally showed up in his Toyota cab over from like it was a mess. He cut the back off of it so he could put his bikes inside of it. So he turned it into basically a toy hauler Toyota camper. Showed up on the lake bed when we started setting up, and he's like, I want to jump bikes before I turn 30, and I come out to California to see what's going to happen, and I hear you guys could use some help. We put him to work. He lived at Dave's place for several years, and he went on the road with us. And Boston, I called them the Home for Wayward Boys. They'd show up, and we'd put them to work, and they'd be part of the circus for a few years. And honestly, they're some of the best human beings I know. So, sorry, Jose, you're the Texas Jesus of trail chasers as far as. You have to grow your hair.
He's our Fontana Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah,
I'm Fontana Jesus.
Montana Jesus.
There you go.
Shannon, I am not at all disappointed. I just literally in the few interactions on Instagram this weekend when we were going back and forth, I was like, we need to have a conversation with you. You are amazing. The amount of things that you have accomplished and your personality and the way you charge things, I am so impressed with what you do, and I am grateful, as we all are, for what part you had in saving the hammers and providing us the opportunity to experience that year over year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This has been cool. I had no idea I was doing this 2 days ago. So this is really
most people do.
See, that's how we do it. We sneak up on people.
Surprise!
And then afterwards.
Surprise, you're on a podcast.
Yeah. And afterwards, when they're like, can you please delete that tape? And we're like, no, that's not the part of the agreement.
I've accepted that part over the years.
Yeah. There's been a couple times when people are, wait, what, live? What do you mean live? Yeah, hold on. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Dozens of people are going to hear about
all 12
up
people.
for it. I left my dogs like this is her den back here. So the stuffed animals, that's where she hangs out.
Oh yeah, what you don't see behind the camera is the slew of backpacks and the
dirty laundry over here.
And we do a very good. Casey doesn't care. I mean, look at that. He's in his kitchen.
The orange chicken I just made. For my kid.
Fantastic.
But that's who we are. It's a shit show every day, every week, and
some dirty laundry back there.
I really appreciate you being willing to jump in and have this conversation. You've been a whole lot of fun, and awesome. I really hope we get the chance to talk again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you, and you have a great rest of your night, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, we are still live, but we'll end the recording right there. I got to tell you, that was so much. You're so much fun. I can't believe you've done so much in the short period of time. You know, just in the stories you've told. I'm sure there's another whole episode of other stories that we haven't heard yet.
There's been a lot of life lived in a good way, in the right kind of way, I would say. So yeah, cool. Thank you guys, really.
No, this was fun. So what we'll do is we'll clip this together, and I'll send you an email. We'll promote it on social media. Just welcome, introduce you to the show, and try to drive people to listen to the show. It comes out Thursday mornings, all major podcast platforms, and if there's anything, I mean, the conversations about volunteering and some other stuff, Blue Ribbon Coalition. If there's anything we can do to help with any of that, we want to be advocates and good stewards of the land. So do not hesitate to reach out and let us know. If it's just a message that needs to get out, we can do our best to help. And we make full use of public lands and want to give back at the same time.
Really appreciate that, and I will absolutely keep that in mind. I feel a little silly about that necklace. I had a road mic here. I was trying to get to work, and it wasn't working on my laptop, so I switched last minute to the headset and didn't even think about that jingling and jangling.
I didn't either, and then about 10 minutes in, I caught it, and I was all, wait a minute, it'll be fine, and then I wanted to just, so that we didn't go through the whole thing that way.
I had started laughing, and I'm sure made the whole thing ridiculously worse for a minute there. So
it's totally fine. That part gets edited out from the thing. But anything else, like I said, anything else you need, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'd love to connect, and I hope everything goes well at the storage facility, and it's exciting that it's open, and that that's a very impressive facility you guys have built, and it will definitely give back to the community, looking at where it's at, and the amount of jobs it's going to offer, and I think it's a huge thing.
Thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. It was great meeting all of you guys. And if there's ever anything, my world, if there's anything I can do from my world, if you want Shannon on, I'll try to give him a call. He's a little hit or miss, but I might be able to get some other ones for you.
You know what? We've been very fortunate that we've reached out to people. Like we've reached out to Casey. We've reached out to people that shouldn't be on the show, like way too good to be on the show, and they come anyways. We love Terry Madden. We've had Sarah Price on here, Rochelle Croft, Curry, who else? I mean,
Brad from Trail Recon,
Jillian,
Rebecca.
Yeah,
that's the thing about this community. Nobody feels too good to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what Shannon's thing is. He swears a lot. And
totally
we usually swear more than we did
which
tonight.
Would be fine for you guys. But, so I used to have to, because all of them, right, early on, none of them knew how to talk in front of cameras. None of them knew how to be those kind of people. And Shannon would literally get up and be like, if y'all don't know who my sponsors are, you should. Thanks. Like, after he just won everything, right?
I'll give you a sense of who we are. My 6-year-old literally yesterday said, why does Uncle Casey say bad words so much? I think he's rude.
Yeah, no. But for him, he was like, Shannon, if I don't want to get up there and swear or not remember what I said or forget the wrong sponsor, so I say nothing.
Yeah.
And that'd be funny. You turn the mic off and he would have stories for days, right? And I'm like, how do I get that guy in front of the camera? He's like, can't, because I don't know how to edit myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing with Shannon. Well, and now he's become Shannon Campbell Unleashed. So that's not a thing anymore. So I'm sure you could get him on the show now. Yeah. So I knew him before he was unleashed. How's that? But all of them struggled with that a lot. So, but the ones that understand the importance of just the storytelling, doesn't surprise me. Casey's been on here. Doesn't surprise me. Terry's been on here, or Sarah Price. That was actually funny. The project manager for Arco that is working, that was our GC on the project. He's like, so we went out to King of the Hammers. I'm like, yeah. I go, why didn't you call me? I told you I'd give you a tour or whatever. And he's like, yeah, well, we had some friends out there racing. I'm like, oh yeah, who? He's like, this girl named Sarah Price. I'm like, you're just friends with Sarah Price.
He's
like, oh, you know her? And I'm like, that's a badass.
That's a big pull. Yeah, right
like,
there. Yeah,
Sarah Price is legit. And he's like, oh, I didn't know you knew her. And I'm like, she announced for us for a few years. And anyway, just but yeah, it was just so funny. He had no idea because that's not really his world per se. So
and it's very much one way. Like the Terry Maddens, the Sarah, like we get giddy, right? It's they're like, oh no, we love hanging out and talking to people. Sure. We get excited and giddy about it. And then once as a group we got over that early on and was like, hey, they're just people. Let's just have a conversation. It's so much fun to be able to have those types of conversations with people that are heroes, people that we look up to, people that you don't, when you look at them from the outside, they're just a normal dude that built a truck and they race it, or a normal chick that got involved in this when they were young and now they're racing it. And then we get the chance to have those conversations and hear those stories, and it's one of my favorite things in the world. And the tagline for the show used to be, "You've got a story, we want to hear it," and that's the part that we enjoy the most.
Then we heard a lot of horrible stories, and we just it's not, that can't be our motto.
Casey told 2 stories, and we had to stop it.
No, well, that was when Wyatt came to me with the idea for Talent Tank. I'm like, I love this because there's just not enough people telling the Ultra 4 stories. And so I really kind of helped him put that whole concept together at first. And everybody's got a story to tell. So I love the whole podcast thing. And you guys are doing a great job with it. And
thank you.
Thanks for reaching out. So
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Have a great night, and we will catch up soon, I hope.
Sounds good. And seriously, you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me.
Will do. Thank you.
Position number 2 at King of the Hammers.
Number 2. No. I can't get you 2. That one's been filled. I can get you like 79. All right.
Okay.
Let me see what I can do.
222.
We're going to have to get Dave really drunk, but we can probably make it happen. All right. Good night, guys. Yeah. Bye.
So that
Montana Jesus.
Do we want to do any wrap up or let that go? Do we have anything?
Any pressing news?
I don't have any pressing. 3, 2, 1. All right. Thanks to Shannon for joining. That was that's super cool. One of those we've talked about how, like, some of these interviews that we get the chance to do are even better than you expect, like way more surprising. I feel like we could probably have 3 more episodes of just Shannon telling stories about the last 10, 20 years of her life, of the things that's been going on. So thank you for that.
This, again, she's like another one of those people that I don't want to say they're just driven, but they don't take, or they take those risks. I can't, once in a while we get people like that where it's like, I wanted to backpack across South America, so I just saved up a couple $100 and I did it, or whatever. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And and you still are alive. Like, you live in America still, they're willing to take the risks.
Capital One's not after you.
Yeah.
Like, how did you do that?
Like, if that was the most fun I've had.
Where did you work?
About how little I've done.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's telling all these amazing stories and these things that she accomplishes, and then I think about myself and I can't do that. I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to, I have to pay my bills. And, I'm just thankful for the few times we get to go out and do stuff. But, there, again, I'm reminded, just talking to her tonight, like, F it, guys, let's quit our jobs and let's just do something crazy. Like, what do we want to do?
America.
Yeah. Some people already did it. I don't know what to tell you.
Jose, is that you?
I'm just saying some people. You're
You made it. You made it. You're on the podcast.
Yeah,
is that what you're referring to? Wow. Well, you had low expectations there, sir. Anyhow, she does have a lot of great stories. She's very enthusiastic about living life and going. I don't even want to say going after things, just being passionate about stuff. And so,
I guess she was living life on her own terms. I think that's what was like.
And not what's the bank that owns me? Which one of the banks?
Chase Bank.
Yeah, Chase or whatever. PFF still around?
No,
Pomona First Federal.
That's Washington Mutual, which is now Chase.
I think Pomona First Federal still owns me, dude. And
any number of banks, they all own me.
They've bought and sold me a number of times. Like, oh man, I'm a slave to the system. But yeah, it does make you want to just F it. Mm-hmm. Let's just do something cool. What do we want to do?
Well, I think we need to figure out how to
four-wheel the moon.
Oh, okay. But I think we need to figure out how to get enough time off to do some volunteering next year. I think about what she was talking about for the volunteering at the Hammers, and then the Wheeling Wine and Whiskey guys, and
yeah, they all volunteered.
They all did some volunteering, right? It's something I didn't even think about as an option prior to, and I think a big part of that was we were just getting a couple of days off work, and that was the best we could do. But I think if we plan early enough ahead, we can do that. I think I'd like to do that. It's in some fashion next year, and if
that requires planning.
If it was the YouTube comment moderating, then so be it, because I think that would be fun as shit. Just have you ever seen the Wendy's Twitter account, like the memes of the Wendy's?
They kill whoever runs that Twitter account, dude.
Wrecks it. Wrecks it, right?
They're not getting paid enough. I never cared for Wendy's before until I saw some of their shit.
I want to be the Wendy's Twitter moderator for King of the Hammers and just clown people the whole time. I think that would be a lot of fun. But I'm sure there's a litigation risk involved in that.
It might be our first and last time.
Halfway through the race, get these guys off the computer. But no, I think that's cool. I mean, obviously, she took I want to say a path less traveled, but I mean, you think back to in 2011 when she took left corporate America to do that. That was a huge risk, and a lot of times those are the risks that pay off, right? That make the memories. So kudos to her for having the bravery to do it.
That's what it's going to take, Matt. We have to find our way into corporate America and then try to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then we'll be set.
I agree with you. I think that's
you are firmly planted in corporate America.
What?
No, I'm not.
Are you?
Matt
wait.
is.
Are you? Yeah. Are you saying that I live in the Matrix?
I'm saying.
Are you saying that I'm actually in a pod right now?
You're
with
probed
a tube in
so
my
deep
face?
right now.
You're just a battery.
I got tubes more tubes than just my mouth. There's tubes elsewhere. I'm really plugged in.
Yeah.
Anything new and exciting?
I don't feel it.
You know what I just thought
of? That's the trick.
Oh my god!
You guys are
wow.
Have we had any reviews or voicemails or anything?
We don't. I don't think we have, and I'll look at that as a positive. Like, good,
no news is good news.
The last don't have reviews or voicemails.
The last time somebody left a review, it was like, "You guys are posers," and it was like, man, I kind of agree with him. I feel like a poser. I'm sorry,
Any
sir.
news
I feel like apologizing.
Pedestal?
I wonder if that guy is or is not listening anymore after wrecking us on our comments.
No, he wrecked you.
Okay, he wrecked me.
He was fine with all of us. It was just about your pedestal.
Yeah, it's just your pedestal. He had the issue.
That's true. I gotta agree with that.
Okay. Yeah, we have no voicemails. 951-394-DIRT. Is
that the right phone number?
I don't know. Let me look at it. 951-394-3478. That's the right number. So, I do have some interesting. We are going to Tammy and I are planning a road trip in April to hit Lone Pine, the Extraterrestrial Highway, Sedona, Tombstone, Arizona.
Wow, that's
Are you doing like a week That's at least a week.
It's a week long. It's a week long up.
Because Sedona to Lone Pine is a quite a drive.
Well, we're gonna go from here to Lone Pine, and then Lone Pine on the extraterrestrial highway to Vegas, Vegas to Sedona, Sedona to Tombstone.
Was it talking to what was Marco's what's his girlfriend? Is his girlfriend? Yes. Did she tell you the story about what they saw?
Yeah.
Did she show you the video?
No, I did not see the video.
I didn't see it.
She was supposed to have a video.
Yeah.
No,
but it was like a pinwheel type thing that was spinning or flying next to their vehicle, and he woke her up, and he's like, look at that, and she was thinking like, oh, what, it was stupid deer or some bullshit, and she looked over, she couldn't believe what she was seeing, and then apparently took video, but it didn't look very good, she said.
That's campfire talk.
Right there. No, I didn't see. Speaking of videos, hey, dude, are you done?
Dude,
no. No, I am not. Hey,
I'll let you know when I'm done.
You ever hear the mute button?
Yeah.
Don't you know about Zoom etiquette, sir?
Marco, our buddy Busta Live, he sent a intro clip to some of the video that he's been working on. It's so freaking good. It's I cannot wait to see it. I can't wait till he's done. Marco,
where's this clip at?
It's in my phone, and so you can't see it.
It's on Need to Know and Need to Know basis, and you don't need to know about it. Right?
Who the fuck is Need to Know?
So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to getting that content. I have been trying to get some of the content off of my phone out into the world.
When you guys go, because if you're doing the Alien Highway, that means you're going to the Little Alien Inn.
Yeah.
You got to get me a shirt. You got to get me a shirt and a sticker and a magnet. And a mug.
And socks.
I need a lot of stuff.
I need.
You saw how
here's a list.
The $100 I spent at Integratron.
I've been using that Integratron mug every single day since then.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Tammy wore her Integratron shirt today.
Keeps your chakras aligned, Casey.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Every time I take a sip, it's just a realignment.
He doesn't have his Kama Sutra poster in the back, so he must.
I don't need it anymore, man.
Exactly.
I got the mug. I'm constantly aligned.
Your chakras are always. Yeah, that's nice.
We're gonna try to camp off the extraterrestrial highway one night.
You got to.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's. You got to do it.
Yeah, we're gonna try.
Cody's gonna get probed.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. If that doesn't get Tammy excited, I don't know what
will. If I'm lucky.
There's another
there's whether it's aliens or Tammy, one way or another, it's happening.
Adult store next to the Little Alien, and it's it's got a different theme.
Cody's just trying to increase his chances any way he can.
Do what you got to do, even if it's a 1,200-mile road trip. But yeah, I'm excited about planning that, and that's going to be in April, and we'll figure that out. Casey, the 26th of February, 26th, Bear Valley Overland is doing a community run, starting at the at Pioneer Town, right?
Yeah. So last week when we talked to Corey, it was going to be the 19th, whatever, the previous Sunday. Just with scheduling, it's better off. It's going to be the following Saturday, the 26th, meeting in Pioneer Town, heading up Burns Canyon, 202, ending in Big Bear at the shop, getting some dogs, some backdoor hot dogs.
Backdoor hot dogs at Bear Valley. So that'd be cool.
They'll probably just be regular hot dogs, but I'm going to call them backdoor hot dogs.
Yeah.
Can I get some chili with those hot dogs? The backdoor dogs.
Call whatever you want, dude.
And then I'm going to do it looks like I'm going to do the trail run, but probably won't be able to go get dogs. I'm going to see Studio 666 that night.
Yeah.
What's that?
That is the Foo Fighters horror movie that they've made.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm super, super stoked. Tammy got tickets for it. I cannot wait. So yeah, I'll do the trail run and then cut out so I can make it to that show.
Do that trailer for
if anybody can make that trail run, it's going to be super mild, super easy. I mean, probably most people have done that Pioneer Town of Big Bear. It's nothing difficult, but we don't want it to be difficult. We want to just have a good time on the trail, you know?
Yeah, I had After I made that post, I had someone on Instagram reach out and say, "Hey, what's the how built does this rig need to be to do it?" He said, "I've got a JL on 35s. You're good.
You could have stopped at JL.
You're good.
You're gonna want to lower that thing and put it on 28s.
Yes, you will be good. Promise.
Because there's potentially some crossovers and 2-wheel drive vehicles coming, so we're trying to keep it easy.
I'm like, look, if you break it, you're gonna end up at Bear Valley Overland. They could fix it. Like worst case scenario. So exciting! It's exciting that's happening. That's the 26. How many days? Is that this
it's next weekend?
Next weekend. Okay,
so a week and a half.
A week from this coming Saturday.
Okay, good. All right. Well, exciting. Oh, sorry. Exciting. And
Corey put some 35s on his freaking truck today.
What?
So I tagged him in a post for that Vilmont market. Some dude was selling some Bronco takeoffs and 315s.
Oh yeah, I saw those.
So he went down and bought them and put them on today, and
it fit. No.
Well, I mean, we had to do like some trimming behind the front tire, as expected. Huh? But oh man, that sure makes that. I mean, that truck was already pretty tough looking.
Yeah, that truck's badass.
I mean, Moss beef.
Man. Well, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And Casey, I think, is going to try to squeeze 35s under his, but we'll see how that goes. And until the next trail run, if you guys are able to make it out to Bear Valley Overland for their run on the 26th, do people need to sign up or anything? Or they just show up at Pioneer Town?
It's just an open trail run. Meet up at the starting point right there, like Pappy and Harriet's area.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, hopefully we see you guys out there at that trail run. We'll talk about it again some more next week.
Some pretty famous people have played at that place.
Yes, Paul McCartney was there. Mm-hmm. What is it in there? I feel like you're making fun of me because there was a thing about Paul McCartney playing there. Anyways, while Jose explains his joke to me off the air, thank you so much to Shannon for joining us, and we're looking forward to catching up with her again soon, and see everybody at the Bear Valley Overland Run in a couple weeks. Have a good night.